Drivers, start your engines!
It's MRN Motorsports Monday, the place for the latest news and loudest opinions, direct from the guys at the track. Presented by Outback Steakhouse. The stories, views, and opinions expressed on MRN Motorsports Monday are not likely shared by anyone, anywhere. Results may vary, so you should talk to your doctor before watching.
What's up, Doc?
Today's episode is brought to you by Hercules Tires.
Pace car is up.
Here's Woody Kane.
Oh, boy, am I glad to see you guys!
I knew you'd come back, Woody.
And Joey Meyer.
Just a reminder, if you're asking me a question on the radio, just keep talking till I answer it for you, all right?
Welcome to MRN Motorsports Monday, presented by Outback Steakhouse. Woody Kane and Joey Meyer with you to recap what happened from the weekend and look ahead to the coming weekend. Two of the best finishes of the season at Michigan in the Trucks and Cup Series, and then another wild race in the Xfinity Series at Mid-Ohio. That track just lends itself to some crazy racing, and we saw it again even without the rain. But a big win in the Truck Series for Bubba Wallace, a crazy move to take the lead, then holds off a bunch of guys throwing rocks at him down the stretch. And then in the Cup Series, my goodness, Kyle Larson with a tremendous restart to take the checkered flag, 3 in a row at Michigan for Larson.
You have 3 different races and 3 really outcomes that we weren't expecting. At the Cups level, we're still looking for Michigan to widen out like the old Michigan. I don't know if we're ever going to get back there. There was some random talk about spraying juice and stuff all over the place, and they did use the tire dragon. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, which it seemed. That's exactly right. So it seemed like it did widen the track out, but it wasn't as racy. All it did was prevent you from wrecking if you got out of the groove, which helped. But the Cup Series was really good in drafting. The restrictor plate style racing we saw in the Truck Series is exactly what we see at Daytona and Talladega in the trucks at Michigan, and allowed those guys to put on a great show. And then Sam Hornish, who he doesn't care where he drives or who he drives for. He's going to hop in a car and bring it to the front, and drove a really good race for Team Penske and was able to get that victory at Mid-Ohio. So all 3 weekends or all 3 races put on a different direction of where you didn't know what was going on because you weren't expecting what happened. You had Brad Keselowski led 105 laps. We're going to win this race.
Won the pole.
That's it. Oh, nope. Now Martin Truex. Oh, he's going to win this race. Nope, didn't happen
so
either. Some guy we hadn't seen all day long but had won the past 2 races caps off a victory with the 42. Darrell Bubba Wallace, hasn't been in the truck since 2014. 1 race deal. How good can they be?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to win the race.
Well, he had Maestro's beard butter on the truck, so that made it happen for him, I think.
Yeah, so it was an interesting weekend all around. Great weather and no rain to deal with at Mid-Ohio.
And just as an aside, I wanted to give a shout-out to Andy Lally. He was driving the 07 car at Mid-Ohio and just kept driving up there and kept driving up there. And this is in no way to denigrate that team or that truck, but that's not your typical big-time team like a Team Penske that Hornish was driving for, the RCR cars, the ones the usual suspects you see up front. Andy Lally is a heck of a road course racer.
When we talk about road course ringers, Andy Lally was one of the rare occasions that it actually worked for the 07 team by bringing Andy in, allowing him to sit in that car. He did exactly what we used to expect of road course ringers and kept that 07 car up front all afternoon and was able to bring it home in the top 5, I believe.
Absolutely. And as Joey mentioned, 3 in a row for Kyle Larson at Michigan. The one before that, he finished 3rd. The night before he wins at Michigan, he goes back to the Nationals, the Knoxville Nationals, and puts on a great show and comes home just 1 spot short, finishes 2nd there. However, our Winston Kelly spoke with him in Victory Lane at Michigan.
Well, yeah, we were struggling, actually, the run before that final caution. We were stretching it and going to pit pretty soon, but we caught that caution at the right time, came out, got some tires, which I thought helped me a little bit. The tires did. But we finally got to line up on the outside lane the last 2 restarts. I've been on the bottom every time and lose spots, and lined up 8th, got to 4th, and then, obviously lined up there behind Martin and was able to just get a good jump.
I know you always want to win, but was this a little bit of a thank you to your team owner for letting you go to Knoxville last night?
Yeah, for sure. Chip's the best boss or anybody could ask for, and he knows that sprint car racing's very important to me, and especially at Knoxville Nationals. For him to let me go there last night and run, and wish I could have got a win there last night, but Donnie Schatz is a pretty damn good driver.
I told him this morning when he got here, I said, hey, we got to do one better today than last night. He said, okay.
Congratulations. Enjoy another one.
Thank you.
And the funny thing there, you heard Chip Ganassi at the end. he wore Chad Johnson out when they won that race. I thought he was going to throw him off the pit box. He was shaking him so hard. He was so happy to see Kyle make that move.
If you hadn't been watching the race and you're only watching the video, you thought they were fighting.
Yeah.
It was like an MMA fight up there, but that was the sheer – we asked for raw emotion. We saw definitely raw emotion from Chip Ganassi and the team.
It was a lot of fun. We've got a big show for you on Motorsports Monday, presented by Outback Steakhouse. The Bloomin' Mondays are back. Kevin Harvick didn't pay it off with a top 10 finish this time. He's been doing it practically all season long. But if he finishes in the top 10, you can go on that Monday and get a free Bloomin' Onion.
You can get one today. You can still get one today.
You just got to pay for it.
You got to pay for it.
They got the Joey menu as well, which is for kids. Great lunch specials, good deals there. Check them out, Outback Steakhouse. Big show coming up. We got a new segment where Joey is going to explain some stuff to us. You won't want to miss that. On track, off track as ahead. We've still got to talk about the truck race, the Xfinity race, and we'll look ahead to Bristol coming up this week. Stick around, everybody.
Citywide to countryside, whatever you drive, wherever you go. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading warranty to get you there, no matter where the road takes you. To learn more, visit HerculesTire.com. Hercules Tires, ride on our strength.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse, blooming great.
Where will you be when NASCAR comes to Chicago's fastest loop? 4 days of racing, tailgating, camping, and music come to Chicagoland Speedway September 14th through the 17th. Tickets for Sunday Chicagoland 400 are available now. Camping spots are available and selling fast. All kids tickets $25 off adult price and free on certain race days. Get your tickets and campsite now at ChicagolandSpeedway.com. Chicagoland Speedway, the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series playoffs start here.
Goodbye, Kyle Larson. What an afternoon for the youngster after finishing second in the Knoxville Nationals last night. He's gone. Kyle Larson come from behind off turn number 2 for the final time.
Brings that red and white Target Chevrolet up the back straightaway for the final time, and at the front of the field for Kyle Larson. 3 car lengths in hand over Martin Truex Jr.
This will be 3 in a row for Kyle Larson, and it all came from a restart. He crosses the line and wins the Pure Michigan 400.
Dave Moody, Kyle Rickey, and Joe Moore from Michigan International Speedway. The end of the Cup race, that's the way it sounded. Kyle Larson gets the hat trick, his 3rd straight win at Michigan. He really has it going on at these big 2-mile tracks. 4 wins total, 3 of them at Michigan, the other at Auto Club Speedway. If he can find a way to win on some other style of tracks, and he's going to need that in the playoffs, look out.
You know, it's interesting we talk about being lucky or being good, and we saw a little bit of that yesterday because you have to be good enough to keep your car in contention. And then without that, easy for me to say, without the late caution series, Truex is going to win this race hands down. So we need a little bit of luck. They need a little bit of luck to align themselves in that second row behind Jones and behind Truex, and then have Truex make a little small mistake and not get a good jump. So all of these things really don't play into Larson's hands unless they're lined up correctly, and that's where the luck. And then, boom, opportunity presents itself. Larson's there to pounce, and he finds himself up in victory lane again, which is exactly what they're looking for when the race started, but it wasn't playing out that way for him the way the previous 2 races were. He was able to stay out front and lead a large amount of that race. So you had Larson really in the top 5, top 7, top 10, somewhere around, and then able to pounce on somebody's mistake. But a little bit of luck and a little bit of good strategy worked out for those guys.
You mentioned Martin Truex Jr. there. He did get a stage win, piles up some more playoff points, as Kim Kuhn said over the weekend, pads the piggy bank as we head toward the playoffs. Here's what he had to say after the race at Michigan.
Yeah, it's just tough. We got beat. It's as simple as that. Our car was typically took a few laps to get going today. Under caution, I could kind of keep some heat in the tires and do okay. But generally today just took us a few laps to get going to where the car felt where it was where I needed it to be. And we had that long red flag there, and just cooled the tires off, and we literally had one lap of caution to come back around and take the green. I just couldn't get enough heat and everything, and Larson hit me in the bumper on the restart, and I tried to go, and he hit me, and I just spun the tires. So I hadn't spun them all day. It was kind of a surprise to me. I didn't expect it, and he took advantage.
Yeah, now note there, he wasn't saying Larson did something dirty. You kind of chuck guys there to get in that restart. And it was interesting. I read a couple of stories later where both those guys were saying under that late red flag, they were sitting there running over the scenarios in their head about, if he does this, I'll do that, and I want to try to do this, and then it all plays out with a huge, bold move from Kyle Larson.
Again, without the late race caution, the results of this race are dramatically different, with potentially the 77 being able to pull off a victory with his teammate. And then we talk about, team orders, that's Eric Jones. We heard about that during the race. But again, Larson took exactly what he needed to, the advantage of a late race, a restart slip-up, just a minor slip-up by Truex. And his heart breaks because he had clearly a dominant car. A couple weeks ago at Brickyard, Brad Keselowski did the same thing. We lost that race. Earlier in the year, we lost the race at Richmond on the front row with a late race restart. You have to be able to capitalize and pounce on prey when they're bleeding. They have a little paper cut.
You're going all Nat Geo on us.
Exactly. When they have a little bit of a paper cut, you got to put blood in the water and let that great white shark eat, and that's exactly what Kyle Larson did.
All right, let's talk a little bit of on-track, off-track now. This is where we talk about some things from the weekend or in general that are going well in the sport and some things that are not going so well. Let's start on the positive side. What went well this weekend for you?
Whenever you go to the movies and the plot, like again the Titanic plot, we still watch the movie knowing that the outcome might be, we're looking for a good ending. A couple of weeks ago, we had Ryan Preece, who was in the Gibbs car, had a fantastic ending, and it was a really good feel-good story. He had a couple of opportunities. He's racing full-time in the modified series, so he's not completely out of work. Darrell Bubba Wallace started the year in a Roush Fenway car, was top 5 in points, very contending for wins consecutive weeks.
Right in the championship battle, yeah.
And then they lose their sponsorship, and he's out of a car. Here he is. He's physically unemployed. He works a deal, comes back in, miraculously makes a one-race deal for the 99 team, shows up to Michigan, hasn't been in the truck, hasn't been testing a truck, has barely even knows what a truck looks like.
Hasn't been in one since the last race of 2014.
In 2014, hops in that truck, takes it to the front, makes a bold couple last lap move to take the lead away from Chase Briscoe and Christopher Bell and those guys, with Kyle Busch right on his heels.
Austin Cindric was right up there, yeah.
And all of a sudden, he takes that truck home to victory lane. It doesn't make it any better than that. That's a great field story. Some conspiracy theorists are out on how things work because he shouldn't have won the race, and he did. And it's an amazing story when you look at it. Everybody walked away. You saw so much Twitter blow up commenting on how great it was for Darrell to win that race. And sitting here talking about it, I get goosebumps just thinking about how true of raw emotion. When he got out of that truck, nothing was better than that.
Yeah, and it was spectacular. Not only did he make that move, but there were still a few laps to go after that. And a couple of times in 1 and 2, a guy's got a whole hood out in front of him, and he was able to hold them off and get the checkered flag, and it was spectacular. My on-track is similar, but encompasses Kyle Larson. My on-track is bold moves. You saw that one by Bubba Wallace, in which he does the 3-wide slide job to get the lead and then hangs on. But how about Kyle Larson with the bold move at the end on that final restart at Michigan in the Cup Series to take the checkered flag there for his 3rd win in a row? And that's the kind of thing we want to see, even when you have a track that is essentially a one-groove track, maybe 1.5 if you want to get technical for the tire dragon.
The tire dragon.
When you have that going on, it's difficult to make bold things happen and make it seem really competitive. Kyle Larson knew the restart was the only chance he was going to have to make that happen. Similarly, Bubba Wallace knew the only chance he was going to have was to go for it on that little opening he had there late in that race. And that's the kind of thing, people may not remember all the stuff that led up to that, but they'll sure remember those bold moves late.
3 in a row for Larson. You can't. That's not many drivers have done 3 in a row
at any track,
let alone Michigan, which is a tough track to get a hold of. And again, he hung it out there, and it was able to stick, and he got by Truex for the victory.
All right, quickly, what's off track? What didn't work out quite so well?
We go to Michigan. We have these long runs. Some guys are running 2 and 3 fuel stints on the tires. Goodyear really needs to get with the manufacturers and the race teams and go up and just give us a better tire. And what I mean by better from a racing standpoint is let's get some fall off. Let's make teams change these tires. When we come down and we really only put 2 tires on simply because it takes us that long to put fuel in, a lot of guys weren't doing that. For the first couple of fuel runs, the 77 didn't put any tires on. We need a better tire from a fall-off standpoint, and the tire needs to wear off. Goodyear's making a fantastic tire.
That's a very fine line.
Exactly right. They're making a fantastic tire from Goodyear's standpoint. There's nothing wrong with it. The thing will last forever. If we put it on a street car, he'd go 100,000 miles. But from a racing standpoint, we need a little more grip and a little more wear out and a little more fall off, so that when teams come down and
it
put
sounds
tires,
simple, but it's not
exactly
really.
right. No, and it's not. And I know it's for that track exceedingly. We're going 219 in the corners in qualifying.
That's crazy.
We're racing in speeds exceeding 200 miles an hour for the entire lap. They do have their work cut out for them, but that's what we're really looking forward to, and we see it at California. Because the track is so abrasive.
It's aged in.
It's the asphalt at Michigan.
More recently repaved.
Yeah, whose fault is it? The asphalt's.
Oh my gosh! I can't believe
Goodyear
you did that. That's great.
I
All
sucked
right.
you right in,
No,
though.
you did. You got me. I got it.
But Goodyear has to work on giving us a better, more competitive tire that wears out and has some speed fall off.
All right, that's exactly what we're looking for. It is a difficult challenge, but that's why we race. That's what everybody is looking for. We hope to see a little bit more of that in the future. So that's a recap from Michigan. We've got a couple more things to talk about along the way, including a look ahead at Bristol, the Trucks race Wednesday night, the Xfinity Series and Cup Series Friday and Saturday nights. We'll talk about all that. It's still ahead on Motorsports Monday. Plus, you won't want to miss this, a new segment where
The Tire Dragon.
ask Joey, not about tire dragons, but about lots of other stuff. You'll want to check it out. Stick around.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So bold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse, blooming great.
I'm Steve Letarte, STP auto expert and former crew chief. I know what it takes to keep engines performing at their best. STP's latest breakthrough additive, STP Ultra 5-in-1 plus Fuel System Cleaner plus Fuel Stabilizer, delivers 3 times the amount of cleaning agents versus premium gasoline and helps keep fuel fresh during storage. For over 60 years, STP has been on the cutting edge developing products to help engines run better, longer.
One bottle contains 3 times by weight the amount of cleaning agents compared to 20 gallons of the leading premium gasoline.
Hey, Danica Patrick here. When I have friends and guests at the track who want to hear me drop pearls of wisdom during the race, I send them to Racing Electronics.
You all right back there?
I think so. I didn't, other than hitting a car, I didn't hit anything, but there's a tire down or something.
If you aren't listening to all the action live, you're missing out. Don't forget to rent a scanner or fan vision for the races. Go to racingelectronics.com to pre-rent for great discounts on your scanner and fan vision rentals.
Wallace continues to use that momentum in the high groove to his advantage. He's able to hold off the guys who've gotten underneath him. Christopher Bell now has a tailgate full of Kyle Busch in the 3rd spot as they battle for the lead. Here comes Bell one more time. He's looking to the high side.
Here's Bell to the outside. Wallace moves up to block. Wallace inches from the wall, down to the line. Bubba Wallace for MDM Motorsports wins at Michigan.
Lap number 90, you took it 3 wide. Take us through that in turn 3.
Yeah, Freddie Kraft up on top. He's back there. He was coaching me through it all. It's been a while since we were in that position, and we work so hard together. That's my brother there. Love him to death. He sets me up for all the right moments, and he says, we're in the catbird seat. You know, we're sitting 3rd. Let's wait till those guys get racing. The 4 passed the 19, and I said the 19 is going to get antsy and try to pass them back. And that was our moment there. So if we didn't take that, we'd have probably settled for 3rd or 5th. So we went for it, and we were able to come out on top. You know, this is definitely a confidence booster for me, and that's what I needed. You know, I wouldn't say I was kicked down, but we struggled over the last couple years, and I needed this. This is a huge win, so I just can't thank everybody enough. You know, I've worked so hard for this moment and put a lot of time and effort. I had a lot of time and effort this season when everything went on a halt to get this program ready, and it's a sweet victory for sure.
Bubba Wallace gets the victory at Michigan in the Camping World Truck Series. You saw on the thing there, Maestros, and then one of their products is beard butter. And so he was,
He's got a nice one.
looking pretty tight, pretty
He's got
clean
a nice
there.
one.
But the funny thing was, a lot of those guys were at the track, and they had these giant, epic beards, and showing their product off, and they were just jumping up and down and losing their minds. But that was really cool. One of the things that happened after, you mentioned social media blew up.
Yep.
Dale Jr. kept getting tweets about, hey, put him in the car,
it.
put him in the car. Jr. tweeted back and said, I
I'm
ain't
not
no Santa Claus up
yeah.
in here giving out free rides. Somebody needs to come up with $6 million.
Yeah, it's all about a business opportunity. Bubba's proven that he's capable of doing this, but now it's a matter about connecting the dots. Darrell to a sponsor to Junior Motorsports. And I could see it happening, but I think Darrell's got some things going on that might be able to be announced here in the near future that will surprise some people.
All right. We're going to introduce a new segment to you this week. That's why Joey is looking a little taller right now. He's standing up because he's going to help illustrate something that a lot of fans have been wondering about, and this is our new Ask Joey segment. First up, we're going to talk about aero, downforce, spoilers, all that. So show us what you mean here.
You know, a couple things that we hear a lot during the year are two words. We hear splitter and downforce. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second, but let's talk about some aerodynamics. If we get the monitor up here, very, very simple aerodynamics, very simple wing. We have a simple wing, we have air going over it, we're not getting into hypersonic or any compressibilities, but anytime we have air moving over an object, it always wants to move at the same speed. But because we have this cambered edge here, this top air has to move at a faster speed so that it rejoins the same air that it started with. Well, anytime we increase the airspeed, we decrease the pressure. This object wants to move up. Lower pressure up here, higher pressure down here. That's causing this because this high speed going over the wing.
So that's how your airplane stays in the air.
That's exactly right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this wing and see how it applies to a race car. If we go to slide number 2.
There you go.
Now what we've done is we have the same wing except we've turned it upside down. So we've increased this air, lowered the pressure.
Right.
We have
So
all
it
this
wants to
pressure
push down
up here.
now.
This is now downforce. Now we take it to a race car. We have all this air going over the top on the downforce side, and we have air being constantly monitored underneath. This is a low pressure side. So what we've done is we've increased the amount of air going over the car, pushing down on the car more by adding this splitter. And we hear splitter so much, team splitter, team valence, but that's what the purpose of the splitter was to direct as much air over the top of the car as physically possible.
Right, to keep it from getting in under the bottom of the car.
Exactly right. Well, now what teams have done, because NASCAR mandates what the outside of this car looks like with all these different templates that we've seen over a number of years, the teams couldn't work on the outside of the car. So what they have found over a number of scientific projects and wind tunnels, now we're controlling the air under the car. So if we can get the air under the car to speed up, we speed up, we lower the pressure. We lower the pressure under the car, which creates a higher differential, pushing the car down even more. So instead of having more air up here, we're actually having less air under here, creating a larger downforce.
The math comes out the same in the end.
Exactly
It's
right.
just a different technique.
So one of the things this year that was really big is this splitter. When we first started using the splitter, it was sealed all the way around to the ground. It would rub as little as we could, but you wanted it on the ground.
It's easier to see in qualifying when they do the tight shot and it's stuck right
It's
down to the track.
stuck on the ground. Well, now what teams are doing is they're allowing this splitter to be modified underneath and allowing some air to trickle through to increase the acceleration of getting rid of the air underneath. If we can increase the air by allowing it to go under the splitter, we increase the air, low pressure creates more downforce. There was actually a very big rule change this week at Michigan to stop getting rid of these splitters and modifying the bottom of them.
So what was the change?
The splitter used to look like the top of this table, very flat, very in. Teams used to modify that bottom of the splitter to try to get air to flow under it in a very precise way. NASCAR says no more. We've gone to a very rigid bottom splitter, very flat. So we definitely saw some performance gains or losses based on what your teams were. And that's how we were getting that through the splitter. And NASCAR's mandated now we're going back to a flatter sealed splitter to get rid of some of or to add some of the templates. We enforced a rule that we always had, but we really weren't enforcing it for a longer number of times.
Now, you can also add, I've talked to several crew chiefs who talk about even something as minute as the leading edge on that splitter being curved makes a significant difference as opposed to it being flat.
It's all about redirecting the air over the top for more downforce up here, or redirecting it under the car to channel it and get it out of the car as quickly as possible. If we can accelerate the air under the car or get more air over the top, those are two different ways we're creating downforce.
Okay, now, can you give us today's weather while you're back there? That's great. That's our new segment, Ask Joey. If you have a question, use that hashtag on Twitter, Ask Joey, or send us an email to our producer, Daryl Smith, at MRN Radio, or at the Motor Racing Network. You can do that. The graphic is on your screen there. You can see where to send that. But we're going to continue this segment as long as folks have questions. If you want to take a little picture or a video of something to illustrate your question and have Joey break that down for you, we can do that too, because now we have the Joey Strader.
Ask Joey.
And if he ever gets a pen where he can draw on that thing, we're all going to be in trouble. But ask him a question. Let him tell you what it's going to do, and then we'll also get you a weather forecast along the way. We've still got another segment on MRN Motorsports Monday. We're going to look ahead at Bristol. Stay with us.
It's almost the most refreshing time of the day, Bush O'Clock, a time for relaxing and unwinding with friends and family over a crisp, cold Bush beer. Bush's roots are in racing, but whether you're enjoying the race or going fishing, nothing is better when it's time to relax than a crisp, cold Bush. It's Bush O'Clock, so grab a six-pack of Bush beer for the cooler, start the grill, and relax. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch, Bush Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
I'm not blooming good, I'm blooming great. Put a shrimp on the barbie and sizzle my steak. Woo, I want that onion to bloom, and it get in my senses like a sonic boom. No rules, just right. So cold, so nice, and I'm so ready for that Outback steak tonight. Outback Steakhouse, that's what it's all about. Outback Steakhouse. Blooming great!
You're smart, got your own trucking business, making it happen. What if I told you there was a place online where you could connect with other smart owner-operators just like you? It's an online community called Team Run Smart, where people share advice on truck maintenance, fuel savings, healthy habits on the road, and so much more, all to make your business more profitable. And it's all free. Visit teamrunsmart.com today to check it out. You'll be glad you did. teamrunsmart.com, brought to you by Freightliner Trucks.
Defiance, Ohio, Sam Hornish Jr. leads him down in the turn number 10. It's Daniel Hemrick in second, Matt Tift in third. Here comes James Davison and Andy Lally. Top five separated by 10 car lengths. But up front, it's Sam Hornish Jr. heading to the carousel for the final time.
The Ohio native, Sam Hornish Jr. negotiates the right hand turn 12, now into the left hand turn 13, the final corner. Sam Hornish Jr. gets it done at Mid-Ohio. He's a winner in the Mid-Ohio Challenge.
From where I was standing on pit road, and I couldn't see all the way around, Sam, but that looked like a pretty doggone perfect race car.
It was. The only thing that we struggled a little bit with was getting through the turn 1 and turn 2 on any of the restarts. For whatever reason, the car just was a little bit tight through there, and then right at the exit of the corner, it kicked loose, and that's what happened. I cleared the 62. They said clear, and as soon as I touched the throttle, the nose pushed a little bit. I had to lift for it, and ended up running him off the track, which I don't want to race Brennan like that. He always runs me good, so feel bad about that. But, man, our car was so good, and over the course of any run, more than 3 or 4 laps, and we were going to rise to the top. So I felt like last year we had such a good car, and we're going to be able to win, and then it rained. So this is a lesson in patience. Had to wait a year for it.
Sam Hornish Jr. explaining how he did it at Mid-Ohio, and I think that was the key there. It was a wild race again, even without the rain. But on the short runs, that was really the only opportunity the guys had to get him, and they all knew it.
Well, you gang up on somebody, you just can't, as good as the car is, it takes a lot of time to gain that momentum to get away. And we had towards the end of that race was a demolition derby. We tore up a lot of stuff. Yeah. Unfortunately, last week's guest, Justin Marks, who was looking for a back-to-back, saw his day come to a very quick end. But that's how it looks like, and maybe it might be a foreshadow to this weekend coming up at Bristol.
Yeah, and that's where the Xfinity cars will race on Friday night. The Cup Series races on Saturday night there. The trucks, a midweek Wednesday night affair that's always fun. We'll have that one right here for you on the Motor Racing Network. What can we expect?
Well, right away, we've already announced they're going to put the goop, they're going to put the spray, they're going to put the juice.
Goop? Is that a technical term?
The juice, they're going to go crazy. And
somebody's got to sponsor that.
Spray that bottom lane with the old VHT, PJ1, whatever company owns it this week.
Now, that's kind of counterintuitive because when they do the tire drag.
That's it.
At some of the other tracks along the way. The drivers always say, no, don't put it at the bottom. We'll work in the bottom. But Bristol is opposite because they've ground those lanes.
Yeah, once they tried to once the engineers got involved to make racing better, they ground away the high lane. Okay, we did have progressive banking. They ground away the high lane, which was supposed to take it away. Well, it added more grip as the tires got to wear, and it actually gave us more speed and a place to go. So what we did was we want the tires to wear out, like we talked earlier in our segment in the off track, and they do. The tires wear out at Bristol. We move to the high lane, and we have no grip on the bottom. Well, we're going to spray it with goop, juice, whatever you want to call it. It's going to add grip to the bottom lane, even with older tires.
Which is where you need it at
It's
Bristol, right?
So we can run the bottom lane on older tires. We can run the high lane on older tires, and that really makes for good racing. Now, we'll see a little less beating and banging, but for the good thing for the fans is when they're too wide, you don't want to come off the corner that way.
No.
You want to get down the straightaway single file, and that's where the yield. We all see how hard it is to get on the interstate at 55 miles an hour.
Yeah.
We're doing this at over 100 miles an hour, exiting both corners at 2 and 4.
And if somebody leaves their blinker on, mayhem ensues.
Mayhem ensues. And then you're exactly right. So you'll see the blending off both corners causes a lot of mayhem, but we're going to have 2 groove racing for the entire race on all 3 series, and they're going to respray it for the trucks, Xfinity, and the Cup cars on Saturday. But a big boost to the Xfinity series, guess who's going to run?
Who?
Dale Jr.'s in an Xfinity car this weekend.
Yeah. For the last time at Bristol in an Xfinity car, as far as we know right now. But that's going to be cool to see as well. From your standpoint, spotting at Bristol, the laps happen so quickly. If something happens on the front stretch and you're on the back stretch, you can be in it instantly.
Yeah, it's a difficult job for a spotter to be on top of it, to keep our driver out of it. A lot like restrictor plate racing, as dumb as that sounds, but that's exactly how we spot it. But we look forward to it.
All right, a lot to soak in there for Bristol coming up. Wednesday night, the trucks will have that one for you right here on the Motor Racing Network. Don't forget NASCAR Live every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. We will be right back here Monday to tell you all about it and what happened. Head out to Outback, get a bloomin' onion, even if Kevin Harvick's not getting it for you for free this time. He's Joey. I'm Woody. We'll see you right back here next Monday for MRN Motorsports Monday.
MRN Motorsports Monday is presented by Outback Steakhouse. Tune in every Monday for another exciting episode right here on MRN.com. Brought to you by Hercules Tires. MRN Motorsports Monday is also available on demand in MRN.com's Media Center, on our Facebook page, on YouTube, and in iTunes or the Google Play Store. MRN Motorsports Monday is a production of the Motor Racing Network.